Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the RDX Sports Podcast. My name is Simon Head, and we've got something a little bit special for you this week. We are live from the Deutsche Bank Park Stadium here in Frankfurt, Germany, where around about 60,000 fans will be in attendance for this absolutely massive event. We have just had the first fight on the card. Stadium's about half full, and Dennis El Pistolero Ilbai picks up the TKO victory against Michael Diegashek. And as you can hear, they're just announcing the winner. James Sweetener from Sporf is joining me, and we're going to try and pick through the bones of these fights as we go through. First impressions of this arena, James, it's absolutely insane, right?
Yeah, it absolutely is, Simon. I've been to some pretty crazy MMA shows in my time, but this is something epic. 58,000 people in here, and I'll tell you what, it's already pretty much packed, and it's just had the first fight.
It's crazy. I mean, if that's the sort of noise we're going to get for a knockout on the very first fight of the night, I can only begin to wonder what we're going to get when the big guns get into the cage, when your Christian Ekelins of the world get into the cage. This place is going to be absolutely ramming, and just the undertaking of putting on a stadium show like this. They're used to playing packed houses in like good-sized arenas across Europe, but this is on an entirely different level. You were in Prague for the stadium show, right? 28,000 fans, I think it was. This is almost twice the size of that. I mean, what's been your impression of Oktagon's growth, particularly on these shows in Europe?
It's crazy, Simon. I mean, when you picture the idea of 28,000 fans in Prague, it's pretty crazy. So to pretty much double that for Germany is something special. And they've really aggressively attacked this German market. I mean, the German fans have been deprived of MMA for such a long period of time. So to build it, and especially as quickly as they've done it, with two guys in Christian Ekelin and Christian Jungwirth, who've never been in the UFC, they've never been in Bellator, they've not had that promotion. And for Oktagon to make them superstars, it's something special.
Yeah, and what we're going to see tonight is an 11-fight card. We've just seen the first fight, Dennis Ilbai getting the TKO victory in the first round. But we're going to see 3 title fights. We're going to see the middleweight title featuring the pound-for-pound number 1 in Oktagon, Patrick Inspector Kinsel. He'll put his belt on the line against Germany's Karim Engizek. We've got the main event, which is going to be for the King of Germany. We need to talk about this. The King of Germany, this is kind of like a twist on the BMF belt, right? They basically said we've got 2 German guys fighting in Germany. This is a big deal. Let's put a belt on it. They've created a belt, they've created a title, and they're going to fight for a belt here. Yeah,
and they most certainly deserve it. You look at these 2 guys. I mean, Christian Ekelin is an absolute superstar in Frankfurt, but don't underestimate Christian Jungwirth, because he's got a massive following as well. He's Stuttgart fans, and he's bringing huge numbers here. So the collision between all these fans in this arena and the noise they're going to make is going to be something special. You're right, it's a twist on the BMF belt. These 2 guys deserve it. They're both ex-footballers, so that's an interesting little addition onto this whole thing, and I really can't wait to see how it unfolds. And the belt as well. I mean, it's bragging rights, and who knows, as you mentioned yesterday at the press conference, Simon, I mean, it could even be defended. This could be massive in Germany. 8 shows coming up next year.
Well, that's what I was about to say. They're going aggressively into the German market in 2025. 8 shows confirmed, with a surprise due to follow, which I assume is going to be another stadium show somewhere. I'm sure, or potentially we might find out later tonight. But just walking up to the building here tonight, bit of a mission getting here, by the way. Traffic in Frankfurt is mental. But it didn't feel like we were turning up to an MMA event. It felt like we were turning up to an international football match. That's what it felt like. Just the amount of people sort of queuing around the block trying to get in. And I reckon there's a good 20 to 25,000 in the building already.
Yeah, there most certainly is, Simon. I mean, as it was described, as you said, on the journey here, it is like a match day. Well, it truly is. And the atmosphere in here is like a match day. And it's interesting because Ondej Novotny and Pavel Neruda always have this anthem of dream bigger, let's dream bigger, and keep pushing the boundaries. As you mentioned, there is a surprise coming up next year. That could be another stadium shot. I don't know how they're going to top this, but the ambition they've got is crazy. And as we were talking about, the opportunity and scope to grow this sport in this region of the world. I mean, look at the stars. We've got Bojan Velickovic, you can grow that in Serbia, and so many different fighters to continue growing this sport in all these various markets. It's crazy, and this alone, I mean, it's pretty special. And I'm sure just from the noise that's coming through the microphone, the fans all can gather what a big event this is.
Yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun. I've been to some big shows, especially stateside, but in terms of the sheer scale of attendance, this blows everything else out of the water. This is going to be between 58 and 60,000. I don't know what the official attendance will be. I'm sure they'll announce it later on in the afternoon. But what we're going to do over the course of fight night, We're going to drop in and out here on the podcast, give you some updates as we go along, as we take in the action here in Frankfurt on an absolutely crazy night here in Germany at Oktagon 62. Well, Flurry, we spoke to you earlier in the week. You said you had something special planned.
Yeah.
That was pretty special.
Cheers. Yeah, thanks. Nice to be able to back it up. Yeah, isn't it? So yeah.
Was it the shot that you envisaged, or how did it go?
So I was using that Russian jab, kind of lifting the head a lot because I knew that he would lean back out of that, and that would like eventually push him to the cage and force him to come. I was working with like Owen Plug from the high performance team, boxing a lot with that shot, but it was a little bit different. It was more to like, I was waiting for him to rush on and it was a straighter shot. That time he was just leaning out the side a little bit, so I clipped, and then I'd like to see it again. I still haven't fucking seen the footage properly, but it felt like more of a curl on it, and it didn't really connect as well as I would have wanted. I think, again, things are quick in there. I feel like I kind of hit the cheek more, but it was at a downward angle, so it probably caught the jaw. But I really didn't think he was out. I thought he was trying to rush me for the cage, and then I hit him again on the way down, which a bit of a dick move, but like thought he was still conscious, so sorry.
Well, you said during the week, like, when he looks like he's hurt, that's when he's the most dangerous, right?
Exactly, like, that's what I mean. So I wasn't giving the guy a second chance, because a lot of people have, and he's recovered and he's done really well out of it. So yeah, look, this is the game we play, man. There are consequences, unfortunately, you know. So yeah, I'm just glad to be the guy doing it, not the one getting it done to him. Like.
Yeah, and you said that if you got this one done quickly, you'd be more than happy to turn it around fast. Yeah. Go to Bratislava, step straight in. Is that the plan? Is that the ideal plan?
I can. It's whether they want me to. So I'm ready. I'm ready to go whenever. November 9th, no problem. That's 4 weeks away. Like, I'm fresh. You saw what happened in there. I didn't take any damage at all. Like, if Carlos isn't going to be a fucking pussy and he wants it, we can do it. No problem. We could do it in Prague in December. Like, you let me know and I'll be there. Like, I'm ready whenever. I'm here to leave the legacy. That's like knocking out a guy in a 60,000 seater stadium, first round, you know, doing it pretty impressively. A guy who's considered very tough. It's a statement. I made my statement. I told you I was here to make them statements. I've gone and done it now. So, look, ball's in your court.
What's your vibe with him? Do you think he'll take it, or do you think he'll look to go a different direction?
I'll be honest, I don't think he will. Like, if I'm in his position, you're an older guy, you've a legacy, you've built all that thing, you've got this guy coming up who looks like an absolute animal. Why would you want it? Like, he's going to coast. He's going to take the easiest fights he can for as much promotion and as much money as possible. That's not what sport is, though. So I'm here to force him into what sport is. I'm the lion. I'm coming up. Be a man. Defend yourself from the lions.
And last one from me. The actual occasion itself. Huge stadium show. I was thinking while you were making the walk, that's a long walk out to make, and also it's a long wait for you being the first one out, being the blue corner, having to stand there and wait and take it all in. What was going through your mind during the walkout, and what was going through your mind while you were standing in the cage waiting for Pavel to get in there?
They were different. So the walkout was class. I was pumped. I was like looking around. It's like the Coliseum, all these people up in the stadium, like the stands, who were just like buzzing, you know. And like I saw the Will Flurry banner all the way around the stadium, like up on the lights. Yeah. You're just like, fuck, that's incredible. Like, you know, it is. It's like, wow, like. But then, like you said, it's ages. Like, so you walk, you're there, you're in the cage, there's a good old breeze, it's kind of cold enough, you know, you're standing around for a while. And I was like, I have to like pump myself up again, I have to like warm up again. Yeah. So I was like shadowboxing a little bit in the cage and just moving around and trying to, like, it was funny, I was so amped. And then I got to the cage and you're waiting 5 minutes, you're like, I'm actually not that amped anymore, this feels really normal now, let's go again, like, come on. So I had to like re-up my adrenaline, like, but yeah, no, it was a cool, that was like, walking out with class. Being in that cage was a little bit like, we're going to start the fight anytime soon, or like, you know, I was just really pumped there a minute ago. But it was class, the whole atmosphere, like, the occasion is incredible. I'm so happy, like, I'm very grateful I got to be part of something like this. And please God, again, they can do something like this, because it is incredible. Like, 60,000 seater stadium sold out. Lads, like, I didn't quite appreciate that until I got here today and was like, holy shit, you know, I started fighting in front of like less than 20 people in a GAA hall, like, you know, it was a couple of like family members and like, you know, whoever else was going to come from the local area, like, but like, and now this 60,000 seater stadium, and look, it didn't just happen, it took a long ass time, and like, you don't know where you're going to fight next either, but yeah, this was incredible, it really was.
Could be a title shot next, all the best, congrats.
Sure. Thanks man.
Okay, we're just approaching the final preliminary card fight here at Oktagon 62. This It's a full house. Pretty much every seat is taken. I'm joined by Scott Lagden, who heads up PR and media relations for Oktagon. Scott, this must be a dream, right?
Unbelievable, Simon. Like, my very first show for Oktagon was the very first show in Germany. So the first time the promotion had gone outside the Czech Republic and Slovakia. That night, we sold out the festival, but in terms of media, there must have been about 6 people in that press conference. Here tonight, over 150 members of media. I think it's something stupid from about 12 different countries, off the chain. This is just unbelievable.
So you've seen the growth of the sport, or branded by Oktagon, the Oktagon version of MMA, because they do it in their own inimitable style. It's not the same as watching a UFC show. It's not the same as watching a PFL show. They've got their own take on MMA. What is it about Oktagon that just makes them a little bit different from the other promotions that are out there?
I think a large part is just that live experience. You know, here, it's the music, it's the lights, it's the atmosphere. Tonight we've got John Newman at half-time. We've got a whole overload of surprises as well. So it's not, you're not just here for MMA. Like you, Simon, I've been to MMA shows for years and years and years. And it's just like fight, roll. Here it's like fight. A bit of like a stare-off cam with Gogi on the screen. It just encompasses everything that's going to bring in more than just a fight fan.
Yeah, and just the scale of the whole event. I mean, I can hear Lenny Kravitz, he's banging out the speakers now. Mallory Martin is about to walk out to challenge for the strawweight title against Katarina Delista.
Look at that.
It's insane. It's absolutely insane. But in terms of putting on an event like this and being able to coordinate, just from a media point of view, how much work has had to go in over and above what you would normally do for a standard Oktagon show?
So much. So the objective coming into this one was the MMA eyes around the world have got to be on this show. And so it's a case of me reaching out all the bigger sites, all the bigger outlets, securing coverage. And I think we've done a really good job. I think you'd be struggled to be online this week or involved in the MMA community and not those that's going on. So yeah, a huge effort. But that's the thing here. You asked earlier what makes us different. Oktagon team here, honestly, the people I work with are unbelievable. We love this so much. We're so passionate about what we do. And it's that big collective push that we do for every show which makes us really stand out, I think.
And to have 60,000 fans in a market that has largely been underserved over the years. We've seen the occasional German fighter move onto the world stage and do reasonably well, like a Daniel Weichel or someone like that, who's now bringing the next generation through, right? But to be able to put on shows and pack out 10,000 seat arenas was considered unthinkable just like 3 or 4 years ago. And now here you are in a stadium that held World Cup matches, European Championship matches, and now we've got 60,000 people here watching professional face punching. This is incredible.
It's insane. I mentioned to you earlier about the first show that I did in Germany. It was my first show. That night in the Festhal, I'm not exaggerating, there must have been about 1,000 armed police officers. It was the first experience Germany's really had of an MMA show. And like I said, you couldn't walk anywhere in that venue without being surrounded by armed police. And it's gone from this to, again, it's without words. It's unbelievable. And listen to this. This is for Delista. This is the end of the prelims. What's it going to be like when Ekelin walks out later, when Youngworth walks out, when Kogre walks out? Oh my goodness.
This is the walkout for Katarina Delista. She's the strawweight champion here at Oktagon. And there are 60,000 people here going off their collective heads, just roaring her to the cage. It's quite something. And
look at the hair, Simon. Look at the hair. You've seen the hair, the tiger stripes in the hair. She's embraced the whole Tigress theme this week.
Yeah, it's been great. And the press conference on Friday was great. That built up the fights. You get to see the personalities of I think, like, if you're just showing people a fight, it's A versus B, red corner versus blue corner. But the thing I enjoy about Oktagon is the storytelling. They do tell the stories of the fighters to the point that the very first fight of the night here, there were a good 25,000, 30,000 people in the building for the first fight of the night. Dennis Ilbai got the win over Michael Diegashek. To be able to pull that many people for the first fight of the night, it says something about just how much progress has been made, right?
Yeah, and the fighters acknowledge it as well. You'll know you've spoken to Will this week and tonight. They love it. They appreciate our efforts. Again, yes, the Oktagon brand is strong, but we know that to make it even bigger, you've got to have the pull from certain fighters as well, and that's what we do. We tell their stories. Again, I think our video content is second to none. I think our social media content is second to none. I think what we do is different, and that's what sets us apart. I really do believe that.
And 2025 is going to be a huge year. I think 8 dates have been announced for Germany next year. I think 4 or 5 shows have been announced for Czech Republic and Slovakia next year.
Yeah.
It's going to be huge. What's the aim next year? I mean, you've established all these areas. Is it just a case of just going back and putting on good shows?
Yeah, and Germany's a big place. Germany's a big place, and we've only done, so far we've only done Munich, we've only done Frankfurt, we've only done Oberhausen, Stuttgart. Next year, Dortmund's going to be new. Dusseldorf's going to be new. There's a whole new range of markets to enter in Germany. It's a massive place. So the objective next year is to really, what we're here in these territories now is to re-establish ourselves and grow further in the territories. Even the Czech Republic, we're going to go to cities we've never been to before, places we haven't been to for a while. It's about really establishing ourselves and again, really elevating that Oktagon brand internationally, because everyone needs to know about this. Everyone needs to.
And one more thing I wanted to ask you, which I was going to ask you just socially, but I'm on a mic, so I'll do it anyway. How the hell do you balance doing this with teaching?
Mate, do you want to know what makes it even worse? I was in work on Monday morning, thought, okay, here we go, big fight week, work's going to be tough. I'm going to get home every night, it's going to be Oktagon stuff. Monday afternoon, we got the call to Ofsted, we went on Tuesday and Wednesday for the teaching inspection. I thought, you've got to be kidding me. So it's been a crazy week, but yeah, I have to say to my friends, I'll see you in 2 weeks. Very rarely see my family. No, it's not that bad. But yeah, it's what I'm saying. Oktagon team, we're so committed. We put in all the hours, and nights like this make it all worth it.
Yeah, no, all credit to you, man. I mean, like the enthusiasm that you bring to this mirrors the enthusiasm that Pavel and Andre have got for the promotion, and it really comes through in the way it's presented. And it's one of the reasons why I think the sport is doing so well under the Oktagon MMA banner. But thanks for chatting to us, man.
No problem. Cheers, Simon. Cheers, mate.
All right, we are back. It is the half-time interval. You don't get many half-time intervals in MMA. We've got a half-time interval here at Oktagon 62. We just saw a change of champion in the women's strawweight division. Katarina Delista roared to the cage. Absolutely huge ovation for her. But it was Mallory Martin's night. Absolute domination. 2 50-45s, 149-46. And it's been a great first half. It's been pretty special. James Sweetenham's with me again. We're about to listen to John Newman hitting some pop hits from the mid to late 2010s. But the atmosphere here is insane. James, how have you been enjoying it so far?
Yeah, I've thoroughly enjoyed the night so far, Simon. We've had some great fights. As you mentioned there, Martin taking the crown in her division, a fantastic performance from her. But first things first, we had Dennis Ilbay. He was fantastic. Obviously coming in from a boxing background, he looked terrific tonight. He lost a couple of fights ago to Corey Fry, but he's rebounded. He's looked great since. He was in happy spirits in his backstage interview. He went on a wild night out with Tito Ortiz once, so that was fantastic. And I'm sure he'll be having another wild night out tonight. But yeah, we've had some great fights. Will Flurry, a massive victory for him, knocking Pavel Langer out cold faceplant. He called for Carlos Famola after that, so that would be a tremendous matchup.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that. I mean, I spoke to Will earlier this week for the RDX Sports podcast, this very podcast that you're listening to right now, and he said he had something special planned. He said he'd be working on something, and he said that he planned on getting a violent early knockout. That's exactly what he did. And speaking to him backstage as well, it wasn't actually the shot that he was planning to finish him with, and he admitted he felt a little bit bad that he hit him with another shot on the way down, because he was out cold with the first one, with the faceplant knockout. We talk about highlight reels, and when they do a highlight reel for this event, Will Flurry's KO will be front and centre for sure. Great performance from him. He wants Carlos Famola, as you said. Carlos was on the screen. He had the headset on. He was doing the commentary, presumably for Czech TV. Didn't look overly keen on the idea, did he?
No, I mean, would you be keen to fight Will Flurry after that brutal knockout? I don't know. I mean, Carlos Famola is in a very interesting position. Pirat pulling out of their rematch in Slovakia, so there's an opening there. Yeah. It's an opportunity for Will Flurry to jump in and potentially take that fight. Famola, I know he wants the big names. I know he wants that rematch with of course, Kinsel. That'd be a massive fight for him. There's Attila Vey down the line, but you can't deny that Will Flurry has just earned a shot. Yeah, I mean, he wanted to be undeniable. That was the word he said to me during the week. That was undeniable after that. That was an absolutely massive performance from him. Good performance from Mago Machaev as well, defeating James Hendon. Good competitive fight between two well-matched featherweights. Hendon is one of the top featherweights in Europe for my money. I think he just needs to bet himself in. He will get better from that fight. And obviously we've just had Delista being dethroned by Mallory Martin. How important do you think it might be for Oktagon on a night like this, where they're getting more traction on social media than they've ever had, to have an American fighter actually picking up not just a win, but a championship belt? It's sensational. I think Ariel Helwani once described Oktagon as MMA's biggest kept secret because it isn't necessarily humongous in the US in the way it is in Europe. But when we have events like this, you can't help but capture the imagination of those American fans. And those watching this show tonight will realise that Americans can do big things over here, and there's options for American fighters to fly over. And when you look at the spectacle that's going on here, I mean, looking up at the screen, there's actually a countdown now for John Newman, who was obviously famed for his songs that were in FIFA and games like that. So yeah, I think having these Americans coming over and winning big fights, they'll look at that and think, wow, this is amazing. You've got to remember, these competitors who fight in the UFC will look at this as an opportunity to come over and fight in stadiums. We don't really get that in the United States.
No, they definitely prefer the big arena experience in the States. Like Dana has said, he's not a big fan of the fan experience in a stadium. We're up in the gods here. We're on the press. We're in like what would be the equivalent of the press seats for like a football match here at Eintracht Frankfurt Stadium, the Deutsche Bank Park. We've got great sightlines, great view. The way everything has been set up, despite the fact this is a colossal arena, the sightlines are great. Everyone's got a clear view of what's going on. We've got big screens all over the place. As you say, we've got a countdown to John Newman's halftime performance, and we've got some big fights coming up after the halftime break, including the battle for the King of Germany, Christian Ekelin versus Christian Jungwirth, and the middleweight title fight between Patrick Inspector Kinsell and Karim Engizek. If Patrick Kinsell wins this fight, does that muddy the waters with the light heavyweight title picture, do you think? You referenced it a little bit there. Would Vermola rather fight Kinsell again, do you think, than get in there with someone like Flurry? And might he just drop the belt?
I think Vermola 100% would rather fight Kinsell. Flurry's a dangerous opponent, and the rivalry is there with Kinsell. And ultimately, you've got to remember, this is 1-1. And it was 1-1 in an era where we didn't have the open scoring in Oktagon. And Carl Vermola firmly believes that during that fight, he was winning it. Had he known he was behind, he would have gone for the knockout. And that brings a completely different dynamic going into a third fight. Yeah,
and it's going to be interesting to see how Kinsell does against Engizek, who I know he's a German fighting in Germany, and he's had good support at the press conference. He's going to get a lot of support in the building tonight. I don't know, it just feels like he's flying under the radar just a little bit. Kinsell's the pound for pound number one, but if Engizek can do something big here, that would be absolutely huge for German MMA, having a big champion in an organisation that can pack arenas like this.
Absolutely. I mean, you've got to remember with Kinsell, he's getting into his later 30s now, and he is the pound for pound number one in Oktagon, but he can't go on forever. And Engizek, somebody who's not lost in 10 years, who has one punch power, and you've got to remember as well, these Turkish fans in Germany are absolutely incredible, and they'll be screaming the house down. And Kinsell is used to being a favourite with the crowd, and coming out into 58,000 people booing him, it's going to be a different dynamic for him.
And he trains with one of the nemesis. Whoa! The volume has just got very loud in here, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe we should cut this conversation short. Halftime show is about to kick off, and it's going to get very loud in here very quickly. But we'll pick this back up when the main card kicks off. But it's getting very loud, and it's a hell of a show right now at Oktagon 62. We'll be back. All right, we are moving on with the main card. We just saw Max Holzer, who is one of the rising stars of MMA in Germany and an absolute star here in Oktagon MMA. His fighting nickname is Stifler. He looks like Buzz Lightyear, and he fights like an absolute savage. His fight with Mohamed Trabelsi could have been stopped in the first round, almost. Very close to being stopped in the second round. He had Trabelsi in a Kimura that I will go to my grave not knowing how the hell he survived that. He had his arm as far round as you could get it without detaching it from the shoulder completely, and yet he still didn't tap. Remarkably, he survived that. In the end, it was some third round ground and pound that got the job done for Holzer. Huge performance from him, still undefeated, and there's going to be big things for him, for sure. He's only young, early 20s, and we're going to see some big things from him in the not too distant future here in Oktagon MMA. Just walking to the cage now, we've got the big Polish heavyweight Adam Palash. He's 9-3. He's looking to get himself a shot at the Oktagon heavyweight title, which is currently held by German Hatif Moel. But he's taking on Lazar Todev, who is a Bulgarian on a mission. Todev arguably should be the man with the belt right now. He fought Hatif Moel a little bit earlier on this year, or was it last year? It might have been late last year. And I watched that fight, and I had that fight for Lazar Todev. I thought it was pretty clear that Todev won, but they gave the fight to the boss, Hatif Moel, and Todev has been looking to work his way back. Went away, had a fight on the regional scene, picked up a victory. Now he's back on the big European stage here with Oktagon MMA, and he's walking out to a little bit of Limp Bizkit, ladies and gentlemen. And he's 10-6. He's a very stern-looking gentleman. That's the best way to describe him. But he's absolutely laser focused on picking up the win here tonight. We shall see how it goes. He's a shorter man. I suspect he has the shorter reach. However, he can absolutely bang, and I think he might be the favourite for this fight. But do not rule out Adam Palash. He's big, he's rangy, and he's not to be underestimated himself. He's looking to bounce back into title contention. He was very close, then got defeated by Stuart Austin in Birmingham, I think it was. He's bounced back with a win. Now he wants one more against Todev to clear the way for a shot at the Oktagon heavyweight title. This should be a good one. The other fights we still have left on the card are Nico Samsonidze versus Daniel Torres. That's a big fight at 145 pounds. The winner of that might only be one fight away from a potential title shot at 145 pounds. Then at lightweight, a fight 11 years in the making. Max Kogre and Anon Rakic have fought before 11 years ago. Kogre got the win that time. They're going to run it back tonight. And in terms of fan support, the one man who can rival Christian Ekelin for fan support here tonight, I think is going to be Max Kogre. So the roar that we're going to get when he makes the walk to the cage is going to be pretty spectacular. He takes on Rakic in a lightweight contest. Then we've got a co-main event. Patrick Inspector Kinsel taking on Karim Engizek for the middleweight title. Kinsel has been the champion for a while. He's a ranked pound-for-pound #1 fighter in Oktagon MMA. He's a problem solver. He's good everywhere. He's one of these fighters who, you look at him, you watch him fight, and he doesn't look outstanding anywhere. He's just very good everywhere, and he's solid. He's been through the fire in his career in the past, and what you've got now is a guy in his late 30s who is seasoned, he's hardened to the game, and he's currently the 185-pound champion here at Oktagon MMA. And he will be competing against Karim Engizek, a German-Turkish fighter, undefeated in his last 14 fights. 14-fight win streak, stretching back over 10 long years. This is hoping, well for him, he's hoping that this will culminate in a championship victory here tonight, where he looks to make it 15 in a row and make it to the top of the Oktagon middleweight division. Then after that, of course, it's the main event, the battle for the King of Germany, Christian Ekelin, from here in Frankfurt against Christian Jungwirth from Stuttgart in Germany. Two hugely popular fighters here at Oktagon MMA. They're going to go head to head for that specially commissioned belt, the King of Germany belt. That's what we've got coming up. We'll bring you some more updates as the night goes on here at Oktagon 62. We're getting towards the business end of proceedings here at Oktagon 62. We've just seen Stefan Putz, German combat sports legend, inducted into the Oktagon Hall of Fame, only the third fighter to be inducted into the Oktagon Hall of Fame. And we are now back to the live action at lightweight. Max Kogre versus Anon Rakic, a rematch 11 years in the making. Kogre got the win first time round. He wants to prove that he can get it done again. Rakic, who won on and captured gold in KSW, is now back for a rematch. They're going to fight at 155 pounds. Rakic is moving up 2 weight classes to make this fight happen. But this one has been one of the livelier ones in terms of fight week. During the press conference on Friday, the biggest pop in the crowd was for the man who's just about to walk out into the arena, Mad Max Kogre. But he's taking on Anon Rakic, who's Croatian but based here in Germany. This should be a good one. I've got James Sweetenham alongside me here. out on press row at the Deutsche Bank Park. 3 fights left on the card. This one should be a good one, and there was a good build-up to this during fight week.
Yeah, there most certainly was, Simon. I mean, for me personally, this is the fight I'm most excited about on the card. I think Max Kogre is a German legend, so for him to get this stage in front of 59,000 fans, as it's just been announced now, is incredible for him. And as we're watching live, Max Kogre is walking towards the cage. He's got some pretty wacky Viking-themed walkout, which is pretty crazy, Simon.
That's insane. I must be honest, when I was downstairs earlier interviewing the Irish light heavyweight Will Flurry, we saw a lot of people dressed up in like Viking attire and stuff. I think we might see a very big walkout a little bit later on this evening. Looks like we're in the middle of some sort of bubble party or foam party that's going on downstairs. Kogre walking out to a little bit of gala, freed from desire. It takes me back to my clubbing days.
I mean, it reminds me of like a university freshers week. That's the sort of vibe we've got going on now. That's what Max Kogre's all about. He's fun. He's lived an incredible life. I mean, this is a guy that was brought up in Frankfurt's red light district. He's from a red light family. His mother used to be a stripper. He's got this incredible backstory. And the fact that he's been able to bring this event to Frankfurt, him and Christian Eklund, is pretty crazy.
It's going to be crazy, and you can hear the reception. The 59,000 German fight fans are giving Mad Max Kogre as he makes the long walk towards the cage. I was talking to Will Flurry about this. It is a long walk to the cage and a lot to take in. But if you're in the blue corner and you made the walk first, you're waiting a long time, especially when you've got a grandiose walkout like this one. And Will was telling me that he was really amped when he made the walk to start with. And then when he got to the cage, he got a bit cold. He was a bit like, what do I do now? I've got to wait half an hour, it feels like. He had to amp himself up and warm himself up again. So that's the challenge that Anon Rakic has got to deal with right now.
Yeah, he most certainly has. I mean, Anon Rakic has waited, 10 years for this rematch, and it feels like he's got to wait another 10 just for Kogre to get to the cage. But the nerves they must be feeling with how long this rivalry has gone on for, it's just incredible. And while it's tough for Rakic, think about the pressure that is on Kogre's shoulders right now. His entire career fighting in organisations like PFL and that, he was never the massive star. It wasn't until he managed to get these big German nights with other promotions that he became a mega main event fighter like he is tonight. Not quite in that showcase that Eklund is, but make no mistake, in the eyes of the fans, this basically is a main event. So Kogre, a special fighter, a special opportunity for him, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do in the cage.
And a lightweight, there's options galore for him if he wins this fight. We know that Shamrock wanted to fight him here at this very event. Max had other ideas, and there's a good story behind this one, so we'll kind of give him a pass on that one. But Shamrock will be fighting later on this year, but this one is all about the homecoming hero, Mad Max Kogre, taking on an old rival here at Oktagon 62. We'll check in with you again just before the main event. Oktagon MMA has a brand new middleweight champion, and they might have to redo their pound for pound rankings as well. Patrick Kinsell comprehensively beaten, it has to be said, by Kerim Engizek. It went the distance, but it was 4 rounds to 1 on 2 cards and 48-47 on the third card. It was a dominant performance from Engizek, looked really good on the feet all the way through. It was only that 4th round where Kinsell really leaned hard on his wrestling and his grappling that he got any kind of joy at all, but he needed something big in the final round, couldn't get it, and we now have a new middleweight champion in Oktagon. James Sweetnam alongside me was watching it. What did you make of the performance from Engizek?
I thought Engizek was nothing short of sensational. There's been this whole narrative in the run-up to this. Yes, he's been unbeaten for 10 years, but against what standard of opposition? He's now proven that he was unbeaten for that period of time for a very good reason, beating Kinsell relatively comprehensively. As you mentioned there, the Czech having some success in that 4th round, but it always looked likely that Engizek was going to pull out the victory. But what I will say, going forward, he's going to have a tough time keeping that belt, because Makhmud Muradov is in that division, and he looked fantastic against Scott Lagden.
He really did, and it's a division where there is a little bit of movement now. Like, Kinsell has been the dominant fighter at the top of that division for a while. He's turned back a lot of challengers. Be interested to see what he does next. I think a move up to light heavy might be too much for him. He's quite small as a middleweight. He's He's like 6 foot tall. He was the smaller guy in there against Engazek. And at 37 or 38 years of age, it'll be interesting to see how he bounces back and how quickly he wants to bounce back.
Yeah, it certainly will be. I was of the line of thinking that after beating Kolos from Ola in their rematch that potentially he should retire on top. He didn't, he carried on, he got a big win in Ostrava, but tonight it looked a little bit like a bridge too far in terms of the size. As you mentioned, in his later 30s. Where does he go from here? It's difficult to say because I don't think he's going to be getting a rematch with Engazek anytime soon. And again, he is probably going to be a little bit too small if he goes up to light heavyweight. But if he's interested in doing that, he has beaten Vermolen before, and that fight will always be there for him.
Yeah, that probably is the one that, if you were him, you would want to chase next. Unless you want to just jump straight back in, fight another middleweight contender and build back. But I think it's going to take at least one more win for him to get another bite of the cherry, another fight at that middleweight title. That was that co-main event. We are about to get the main event of the evening, the battle for the King of Germany, Christian Eckelin, from right here in Frankfurt, Germany. Christian Jungwirth from down the road in Stuttgart, Germany. Two former footballers going head to head in a football stadium. And look who's walking out with the belt. Lukas Podolski, former German international, carrying the belt. And things to pick up. We've got a bit of Bon Jovi blasted out of the speakers as well. And they've done a great job of staging this whole event. This is going to be epic.
It most certainly is. I mean, when you look at Podolski walking towards the cage with that belt, the atmosphere in here is nothing short of scintillating. He's a sporting legend. And after tonight, either Christian Eckelin or Christian Jungwirth will join him in being sporting legends from this company. Two fantastic fighters, two people who dreamed of competing in stadiums, but within the realm of football, they didn't make it in that particular discipline. But in fighting, they've found something new. I mean, Eckelin, somebody who travelled to America in a bid to make himself, fantastic at this sport, and he did that. Jungwirth has had an even crazier journey, having to retire from football due to a knee injury in his 20s. This is a guy who couldn't play for Stuttgart. He was that good. He spiralled down a path of drugs and depression. He battled back from the brink at the age of 30, taking up MMA. To go from that in the last few years to become a superstar like his, to headline a football stadium, it's nothing short of amazing.
It's an outstanding matchup. You've got Eckelin, who feels to me like he's the celebrity of the matchup, and you've got Jungwirth, who's like the hardcore guy who's dragged himself up. And it's an absolutely brilliant matchup that wouldn't work as a main event in any other setting than in Germany, in a big arena. And here we are in a football stadium with officially 59,000 fans. We've had knockouts, we've had submissions, we've had musical interludes, we've had a Hall of Fame ceremony, we've had a shoving match between the two fighters who are going to fight for the heavyweight title further down the line. We've had a little bit of everything tonight, but I'm going to put you on the spot now. Who's going to walk away with this beautiful white belt as the King of Germany? Will it be Eckelin or Jungwirth?
I mean, I've interviewed both men. I like both men. But if I'm going to be honest, from the bottom of my heart, I have to favour Christian Eckelin. Jungwirth is a tough guy, but Eckelin's been doing this far longer, and I just think his skill set is just that little bit superior. I think he's the better striker, and I think Jungwirth will give it everything. But ultimately, over the course of the fight, Eckelin will come out on top, and I think he'll probably get a late stoppage.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. I think Jungwirth he'll want to drag it into the trenches. He'll want to drag it as deep into the fight as he can, and hope that Eckelin's gas tank runs dry. Eckelin has had trouble with his gas tank in the past. He says he's remedied that now. He's much better, and he's got a handle on his cardio. Now we've got the Champions League music for some reason, but here we are. We're about to have the main event. Christian Jungwirth from Stuttgart, Germany, against Christian Eckelin from Frankfurt, Germany. For all the marbles, the King of Germany will be crowned right here at Oktagon 62. Next time you hear from me, it'll be a lot quieter as I unpack this behind closed doors after the event. This has been an incredible event, and this main event is going to be awesome. Let's see how it pans out. Well, here we are. The arena is emptying out. 59,000 fans are going to try and find their way home in the Frankfurt night, which, let me tell you, is going to be quite a challenge because the traffic even at night in this town, is insane. So I just hope that by the time I get out of this building, things might have calmed down just a little bit, and I can get myself back to the hotel and get some sleep before heading back home to England. How do you unpack a night like this? Oktagon 62 was one of the most incredible events I think I've ever attended. I've been to huge UFC events, and just the scale of occasion at some of those big title fights is unmatched. They are incredible. But there's something different about what Oktagon MMA are doing. Whoa, fireworks going off to the side of the stadium. It's a promotion that does things a little bit differently. They certainly dream big, and they've put those dreams into action here in Frankfurt. Not that long ago, they were trying to get into the German market, and they were advised not to. They were told, you'll never get MMA to catch on as a spectator event in Germany, the authorities won't like it, and you won't get the fan base. Well, they've done it. They're playing to packed houses in arenas, and that wasn't enough. They went for a big stadium show here in Frankfurt, and boy did they pull it off in style. The fight card pretty much delivered. We had a couple of fights that were a little bit slow, but the action was generally pretty good. We had 3 title changes on the night, effectively, or 3 new champions were crowned. Katarina de Lister, the German strawweight champion, was dethroned by Mallory Martin of the United States. Great performance from Mallory Martin to capture the 115-pound title. That was the featured preliminary the preliminary card fight. We then had a half-time show by UK pop star DJ John Newman, who put on a hell of a show, to be fair, and that kicked off the main card. And on the main card, we had some great performances on that main card. The title fights came at the end of the night. The middleweight title saw pound for pound number 1 in Oktagon, Patrick Kinsell, beaten, and well beaten, it has to be said, over the 5 rounds by Kerim Engizek. Engizek did a number on him, really, just outstruck him, outworked him, outmaneuvered him, outfought him, and outclassed him over the course of those 5-minute rounds. He's your new Oktagon middleweight champion, and it'll be very interesting to see how he does as he tries to hang on to that championship belt in the months ahead. Moved into the main event, the battle for the King of Germany. Christian Jungwirth, who entered the ring billed as the King of Stuttgart, taking on Christian Eckerlin, the man billed as the King of Frankfurt. The championship belt, specially commissioned for the occasion, was delivered to the cage by former World Cup winner for Germany, Lukas Podolski, and the title was duly won by Christian Eckerlin, who completely dominated the fight from start to finish. He won every single round, even though Jungwirth was constantly pressing forward, particularly early in the fight. Even though he was applying a lot of pressure, it was Eckerlin who was landing the cleaner stuff, landing the better strikes, showing the better mixed martial arts game all around. And after 3 rounds of outstriking Jungwirth, Eckerlin then went to the ground in the championship rounds and really dominated things. And it was a complete shutout victory for Christian Eckerlin, who was trying to become a professional footballer for Eintracht Frankfurt. That was his dream, to play in this stadium for Eintracht Frankfurt. He got to play in this stadium, but wasn't for Eintracht Frankfurt. It was for Oktagon MMA, and he played to a packed house, and he won in some style. It was a fantastic event. The stadium was outstanding. I think Oktagon showed that you can do stadium shows well. We were up in the gods on the press tables here. I'm still stood there now. Pretty much anyone left. And even though we were up in the gods, we got a great view of what was going on. The way they'd set up the cage and the screens and everything else meant that everybody got a good view. And I think 59,000 fans who were making their way home in the Frankfurt night will have gone home feeling thoroughly entertained. Interestingly, and it's worth noting, I suppose, given that we're at a football ground in a football-hungry town, in a football-hungry country, didn't see any trouble in the stands, didn't see any fights in the stands, even though There was a little bit of Frankfurt versus Stuttgart going on. Had some rival chanting going back and forth during the main event. But it was all very good-natured. Everything was very good. And the event pretty much, from my standpoint, went off without a hitch. I'm sure there might have been a few little wrinkles here and there that some of the production guys or, you know, the commentary team or the founders might be able to tell us. But certainly to the spectators here in the arena, it went off without a hitch. A really, really entertaining show, and it was great to be able to come out here and experience it live and in person. And they've got big plans, Oktagon, for 2025. They're going to do 8 shows in Germany in 2025. I think they've got 5 shows planned for the Czech Republic and Slovakia during 2025 as well. No word on a return to the UK, but given that they're kind of still trying to grow in the UK and they can play to enormous packed houses in this part of the world, I don't know how much of an appetite there will be to come back to the UK anytime soon. They've got this market absolutely nailed in this part of the world, and they're putting on great quality shows. They're well produced. The fights are fun to watch, and you know, they're a great addition to the European MMA scene. They've come not out of nowhere, but over the last few years they've really exploded into life. And you know, hopefully there are some people, particularly stateside, who will have tuned in and checked out an Oktagon MMA show for the first time and would have liked what they've seen. It's another show to watch. We can't have too much MMA, can we? There's always a show out there to watch, and this one was a cracker. Oktagon 62 is all done and dusted, and I'm just about done in myself. I'm going to head back to the press conference, then I'm going to head back to the hotel, and I'm going to head back home. And by the time you listen to this, I will probably be back home in the UK.
Welcome everyone. The press conference after tournament Oktagon 62, the historical event where we broke the world record together. We just showed the world what we always wanted, why we become MMA promotion, why we came to Germany, to show the sportsmanship, to show the public that it is a great sport, that these sportsmen deserve to be popular, to be followed, and to fight in front of such a great crowds like tonight. And we prove it, not just here in the venue, in this beautiful city of the Frankfurt, with the great fans, but also on the RTL Plus, which is a huge step. We show that the Oktagon is the new big thing for Germany, and we are very, very proud of it, that you all guys was a part of it. Massive thank you belong to all members of Oktagon team, to all you journalists, all the fans, but also the people from Frankfurt, Christian Eckerlin, Niels Schlage, Max Koga, who really helped here with this event to make it happen. We were here just 2 years ago trying to negotiate a deal with the arena. That we tell them one day we'll make a tournament here, and they were just like, yeah, sure, you guys. And now it happened. So big thanks to everyone, and let's go further.
Yeah, I still don't have words and also no voice. So I will just say that it's a dream come true, and I will realize maybe after 14 days what we did just today. So Tipsport Game Changer performance of the night, Tipsport performance of the night is going to Mallory Martin. Congratulations. First question.
Marian Schuster, RDX Sport. Congratulations for this event. Knowing that you just broke the record for attendance, world record, are you immediately thinking about pushing the record further?
Yes.
Are you planning to arrange another event on football stadium in next year in Germany?
We got a lot of plans for Germany, but it's not easy to plan football stadiums and to fulfill them. And would love to do it, but probably not next year. But you never know.
But in future, like that's supposed to be like a norm. Like we're supposed to do 1 or 2 stadiums per year, and I think this was a very important step towards it. Like we really spread our brand like crazy and the sport to the people. So yeah, we are getting closer to this new standard.
You really push the brand, and how further do you want to push it? You are ruling the German scene, you are ruling the Czechoslovakian scene. Are you planning another country to visit?
It's not about the countries, about who's watching you where, you know, and we want to stay humble. We want to definitely do more tournaments in Czech, Slovak, and Germany, and from these 3 countries we want to rule the Europe, like we said before, and we are still stick with it. We want to be the MMA Championship League for Europe and maybe a few other countries, but this is our goal, this is our target, and we believe that European fans recognize then that they can cheer for us.
Thank you for checking out this special edition of the RDX Sports podcast here at Oktagon 62 in Frankfurt, Germany. You can follow RDX Sports on social media, RDX Sports on Twitter, RDX_sports on Instagram. And of course you can follow me on all social platforms at Simon Head Sport. Thanks to James Sweetnam from Sporf, who was my press row buddy for the event. He's been covering Oktagon extensively. I think Sporf might be content partners for Oktagon. So he's had the opportunity to spend a lot of time talking to the athletes over the course of the last few years. Great to have his insight and opinion over the course of the evening. And yeah, thanks to you for listening. Enjoy the next lot of fights, whatever they may be, and I'll speak to you very soon.